In 1967, Nigeria burst into war. Cities burned, families fled, and nearly 2 million civilians suffered. But in the middle of this darkness, something unexpected happened. Mass never stopped, the Rosary never went silent, and the Catholic Church, instead of collapsing, became the lifeline of a dying people. This is the true story of how Catholicism survived the Nigerian Civil War. Presented problems. Before the war, Eastern Nigeria, especially Igbo majority areas, had one of Africa's fastest growing Catholic populations. Missionaries had built schools, hospitals, and parishes across Onitsha, Owerri, Enugu, Nsukka, and Aba. By the mid-1960s, over 60% of Igbo land was Catholic or Catholic influenced, and the region produced some of the highest priestly vocations in Africa. And not just the highest, but some of the youngest. The church wasn't just a religion, it was a culture, a community, an identity. But when war arrived, faith arrived with it. On July 6, 1967, Nigeria and the newly declared Republic of Biafra went to war. Churches were bombed, mission schools shut down, hospitals overflowed with wounded civilians. Thousands of missionaries, mostly Irish, British, and French, were suddenly trapped in the war zone. Many were advised to flee, but most stayed, not to fight, but to feed, heal, and comfort a broken, wounded people.
Bishop Joseph Whelan, the Bishop of Owerri, moved here after the capture of the city in September, and he was joined here a few days later by the nuns from the Holy Rosary Hospital at Emekuku.
Well, I felt very happy that the nuns took the same decision that we did. They decided that it was their place to stay with the people. And even when they evacuated Emekuku Hospital, which was their first foundation in Owerri, and we called it the mother of all the churches, when they evacuated their big hospital, they came down here to Amimo, and 6 have actually remained on, 2 of whom are sister doctors. And they usefully put down their time now looking after the sick, visiting the bush, visiting the camps.
What effect has the war had on your relationship with the people here? I understand at the beginning of the war that things were rather unpleasant for the missionaries.
They were unpleasant because all white men were identified with Britain, and Britain was the enemy. But people soon began to see that we, the missionaries, were staying with our people, that we were anxious to help them, that we were a consolation to them. So they welcome us now, as you can see here today.
Throughout Biafra, priests celebrated Mass under trees, in refugee camps, abandoned classrooms, even inside bomb shelters. Religious sisters, especially the Irish Holy Rosary Sisters, became frontline humanitarian workers, running orphanages and treating malaria.
One of the few things salvaged from the fall of Owerri was this machine for making altar breads. The machinery was imported from Italy just before the war began and has been in continual use ever since. The war has obviously made no difference to the deep faith of the Igbo people. Working at full capacity, these girls can produce 250,000 communion hosts every month. But even at that, they only barely manage to keep pace with the needs of the Owerri diocese, and the other 4 dioceses in Biafra have to provide their own supply. Was there tremendous congestion on the road?
Well, for 2 days before we left in Makuku, the refugees were on the road day and night. Cars were absolutely whizzing past all night. Then most of the refugees were travelled by foot, as they say, or on bicycles.
Mission hospitals like St. Charles Borromeo in Onitsha, Mater Misericordiae in Afikpo, and Mount Carmel in Emekuku became sanctuaries for both soldiers and civilians. Some priests crossed dangerous military checkpoints to deliver food. Others buried the dead when no one else would. Their weapon was charity. International journalists documented widespread hunger and global Catholic networks responded. Caritas Internationalis, the Vatican's humanitarian arm, partnered with missionaries, African bishops, and aid agencies to launch one of the largest civilian relief operations in history. Night after night, unmarked planes, many flown by volunteer pilots, landed on the Biafran airstrip at Uli, delivering food, medicine, and baby formula. Historians now call it the Biafran airlift. Without these flights, millions more would have died. And the Catholic Church was the backbone of it all. For many civilians, prayer became psychological oxygen. Entire refugee camps prayed the Rosary every evening. Families carried scapulars, holy pictures, and medals for protection. Priests heard confessions in forests. Children received First Communion in refugee tents. Funerals became acts of defiance, reminders that every life still mattered. Catholicism suffered not because people were safe, but because they refused to let go of hope. The war ended in January 1970. Biafra surrendered. Millions returned home, albeit with nothing. And the church did not wait. Parishes rebuilt schools before governments did. Mission hospitals reopened first. Seminaries welcomed traumatized young men who still felt called to the priesthood. And instead of shrinking, the Catholic Church in southeastern Nigeria grew dramatically. Within just 2 decades, Nigeria became one of the world's largest sources of Catholic vocations. Today, Nigerian Catholic priests, especially from the southeast, serve in Europe, America, Asia, and across Africa. The faith that survived hunger, bombs, and displacement became a global missionary force. Yes, the Civil War left deep scars. Political, emotional, cultural. However, it also revealed something powerful about the Nigerian Catholic identity and the Southeastern Catholic identity in particular. Faith here is not decorative. It is not inherited casually. Faith here is lived. It feeds the hungry, it shelters the displaced, it holds communities together when everything else falls apart. Catholicism survived the Nigerian Civil War not through wealth, politics, or military strength, but through ordinary believers praying, serving, suffering, and refusing to lose hope. And that is why Nigerian Catholicism, especially from the southeastern part of Nigeria, remains one of the most vibrant, faithful, and resilient expressions of Christianity in the world. Because a faith that survives war can survive anything.